All right, students, now that we have discussed the essential elements in detail, it is time for us to go through our textbook and make notes for last minute revision. Now, these notes will help you to recall the concept because I'm very sure it is going to happen with you that as you progress, when you go to the second unit, you will feel, ma'am, I have forgotten the first unit. When you reach the third unit, you will be like, ma'am, I'm totally blank about the first and second unit. This happens with each and every student, so don't feel scared. It is only that you feel you're not remembering, but you will be able to recall everything during exam. Just trust me. But I'm very sure that that fear will creep in very soon. So how do you help yourself to recall the concept? So there are these techniques which I'm going to teach you. These techniques will help you to learn law. It will help you to recall the concepts that we have discussed in class, and it will help you a lot during revision time, that is one day or 1 week before the exam. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to read all the essential elements from our textbook. This will help us first to revise the concept. Okay, so once we studied the concept during the lecture, that was our first reading. Now, this is the second reading. Okay, so by the time you finish the lectures, you will be done with two readings in the class itself. Then when you read again to revise the concepts so that you can attempt the compiler questions, that will be your third reading. So by the time you finish these lectures, two times you have read the textbook along with me. Once you will read it on your own to solve the compiler questions. So by the time you finish watching these lectures, you will be done with reading the textbook three times. Then when you revise, that will be the fourth reading, and one day before the exam will be your fifth reading. So you will read the textbook five times before the exam, and that is more than enough. Okay. So now let us highlight the keywords, the sentences which you need to write in the exam. I will also discuss the type of questions that can be asked on the concept. So these revision lectures will help you to revise everything that we have studied during the lecture. It will help you to make notes, last minute revision notes. I will also teach you how I studied for my CA exam, and those techniques have really worked a lot for me as well as other students. So I'm going to share that secret with you also. It will help you to learn law. Okay. Now, the essential elements of a valid contract are given under section 10. Not all the essential elements are covered in section 10, but I have considered it from the exam point of view. Okay, so this answer which I have framed, the essential elements of a valid contract, are basically, it is from exam point of view. Okay, so section 10 does not include all these 11 elements, but for the exam it is fine if you quote section 10 essential elements of contract. You need to learn section 10 because you will use this while solving the case based question. Okay, so if a question is asked on business or commercial transactions, social or domestic transactions, you may be required to quote section 10. So you need to learn this. What is the first element of a valid contract? We need minimum two persons, yes, two separate distinct persons. You cannot give the offer to yourself. Will you buy a car? Yes, I will buy my own car. That's not possible. So we need two distinct, write down the meaning of distinct. We need two different parties. Okay, we need two distinct or different parties to form a valid contract. One cannot enter into a contract with himself. You cannot enter into contract with yourself. Then, yes, tell me, what is the next element? Proper offer and acceptance. Now, in the lecture, we had discussed to form a valid contract, you need an agreement and enforceability. What is an agreement? Agreement is offer plus acceptance. So, what are the three elements that we require? Offer, acceptance, enforceability. Offer is the starting point of contract, and this offer must be properly communicated. There are various ways of communication. So how will you communicate? You may communicate by words, oral or written. You may give your offer through action or conduct. So bidding at an auction is implied offer. Striking of hammer is implied acceptance. Implied means it is understood from our action. So you may use words to communicate, either oral or in writing, letters, telegram, okay, email nowadays. Action or conduct of the parties can also be a good medium of communicating your offer. Once the offer is communicated, then the other person will have to communicate his acceptance, only then we will enter into an agreement. So this acceptance must also be properly communicated. So we need offer, we need acceptance. Offer is the starting point of contract. Offer must be communicated. Acceptance must also be communicated. See how we are learning this? How did we start? We started by writing the equation. From there, I could recall the concept that offer is the starting point of contract. Offer must be communicated. Similarly, acceptance must also be communicated. Then the third element is enforceability. Enforceability means intention to sue, intention to file a case. If one party defaults, other party can take action. So there must be intention. In case one party defaults, other party can take action. So you can write that. Enforceability means intention to sue, that is intention to file a case. If one party defaults, other party can take action. Now, in case of business or commercial transactions, we assume that parties intend to create legal relation. If you default, other party will take action. There's a presumption. We presume that parties intend to create legal relation. But in case of social or domestic agreement, social means between friends, domestic is between husband and wife, daughter, father, daughter, mother, daughter, father, son, between family members. Yes. So social is between friends, domestic is between family members. The usual presumption is that parties do not intend to create legal relation. There was a case law which we discussed over here, Balfour versus Balfour, and I had discussed the facts of the case in detail. Yes. So, do you need to learn this for the exam? I don't think so, but you should be able to write this case law in your own words. I would advise you to at least learn the judgment in your own words. Okay, just frame it in your own words and learn that till the exam. Okay, learn that only. Yes, I agree that you will not be able to remember the case law as it is, so you can write it in your own words. So in case of business or commercial, there is a presumption, but there is no presumption in case of social or domestic agreements. This is very, very important for case based questions. Okay, so very important for case based questions. It is very frequently asked in the exam. That is why you need to learn Balfour versus Balfour, not by heart. You can write in your own words. Okay. Then there must be free consent. Consent is defined under section 13 and free consent is defined under section 14. Consent means parties must agree upon the same thing in the same sense, consensus ad idem. I hope you have maintained a list of Latin phrases. Yes, in case you forgot, on the last page of your notebook, prepare a list of Latin phrases. Write the phrase, okay, consensus ad idem, write consensus ad idem and write on its translation. Parties must agree upon the same thing in the same sense. This is the translation. So by the time we are done with the syllabus, you will be ready with a list of Latin phrases. Just refer that list one day before the exam. So consent is defined under section 13. Do you remember the example I had given you? Do you want to buy this pen? Then we had discussed the example of Mercedes car. Yes, do you remember? So the same example is given to you in the textbook also, Mercedes car. Do you need to learn this for the exam? Not really, but it's an easy Latin phrase. You may learn it. But you should know that consent means parties must agree upon the same thing in the same sense, and this consent must be free consent. I have not been forced to enter into contract. I have given my consent freely. I have given my consent without anybody forcing me to do so. It is out of my own free will. Consent is not free when it is caused by coercion, section 15, undue influence, section 16, fraud, 17, misrepresentation, 18, and mistake, 20. Where is section 19? We will find it shortly. What is coercion? Do you need to memorize the section numbers? Yes. We are going to discuss all these concepts in detail in Unit 3. This is just an introduction. Coercion, section 15. Now, coercion uses some kind of threat or physical force is used to cause the other person to enter into contract. So, what are the two key words? Either threat or physical force is used. This is the main difference between coercion and undue influence. In case of undue influence, there is moral or mental pressure. There should be some kind of relation, not blood relation, but there should be some kind of relation wherein one party can easily influence the other party. But no relation is required in case of coercion. Any person can force the other person to enter into contract. So in case of coercion, let me write down the points of difference for you. These are the main points of difference. In case of coercion, there is either threat or physical force. But in case of undue influence, there is some kind of moral or mental pressure. In case of coercion, no relation between parties is required. But in case of undue influence, there needs to be some kind of relation where one party is dominating, is dominating the other party. Is it blood relation? No. There is some sort of relation wherein one party can easily influence the will, the wish, the desire of the other party. Is section number a point of difference? I don't think so. But if you are not able to find any other point of difference, you may write, or you can just support your answer with an example. Undue influence, what are the keywords? There is some kind of moral or mental pressure between persons whose relations are such that one person can easily influence the will. What is the meaning of will? Will means wish or desire of the other person. What is the meaning of fraud? There are keywords. Let us highlight those keywords. There is false representation of fact made willfully with the intention to cheat or deceive the other party. So, yes, we are giving some representation, means we are making a statement which is false. And we know what we are saying is false. We are giving false information intentionally, knowingly. Intentionally means knowingly, or willfully means knowingly, with the intention to cheat, to deceive the other party. So, what is fraud? Fraud means there is false representation of fact. We are saying something which is false, and we know what we are saying is false. Our intention is to cheat or deceive. What happens in case of misrepresentation? In misrepresentation, also, there is false representation. There is false representation of fact, but it is made innocently, without any intention of cheating or deceiving the other party. Yes. So, in case of misrepresentation, there is false representation of fact. We are giving false statements, but innocently, we don't know what we are saying is false. We believe it to be true. So, what is the difference? Here it is knowingly, willfully. and here it is innocently. Here my intention is to cheat, to deceive the other party. Here my intention is not to cheat or deceive the other party. What is mistake? Mistake means an erroneous belief concerning something. Both the parties are mistaken as to the essential fact of the contract. Now, what is the difference between misrepresentation and mistake? Many students get confused. In case of misrepresentation, I am giving false facts. I'm saying something false. Whereas in mistake, both the parties are on their own understanding something which is not correct. So X, he is the owner of 3 horses, but Y thinks on his own that X owns only 2 horses. Y says, I want to buy all your horses. Now X will deliver 3 and Y needs only 2. Are they agreeing upon the same quantity in the same sense? No. There is mistake of quantity. Now they have understood this on their own. Nobody has given false statement. So they have understood this on their own. It is mistake. But in case of misrepresentation, we are saying something. Please remember this difference. Capacity, section 11. It provides the persons who are competent. What is the meaning of competent? Competent means capable of entering into a contract. So only a major person, person of sound mind, and person who's not disqualified. Who are disqualified? Alien enemy, foreign sovereigns, convict, insolvent. We discussed all this in detail. Lawful consideration, section 23. Lawful object, section 23. Both go hand in hand. Object means the purpose for which the contract is entered. That purpose must be lawful. If the purpose is lawful, the consideration involved is also lawful. But if the object is unlawful, the consideration will also be unlawful. Now, X sells a table. This is a lawful object. Therefore, the consideration is lawful. Okay, so this is lawful object. Therefore, the consideration is also lawful. But giving job in a public office, that is government job, and you're asking for money, this is bribe. Here the object is unlawful. Therefore, consideration is also unlawful. Now, consideration we had discussed, it means something in return, and the Latin phrase is quid pro quo. Both the parties must get something in return. That consideration must be lawful. I am leaving this sentence for the time being. We will discuss it in unit 2, not now. I am leaving this also. Both are the same. Object means the purpose for which the contract is entered, and that purpose must be lawful. Selling rice, lawful object, valid contract. Drugs, unlawful object. The object is forbidden by law. Forbidden means it is illegal. Okay, the word forbid is a hint that it is illegal. Object is unlawful, consideration involved is also unlawful. My contract must not expressly be declared void. Let us revise void. Okay, let us revise void. Void is the opposite of valid. Yes? So void means it is not enforceable by law. Valid means it is enforceable. Void means it is not enforceable by law. Now, void may be void ab initio. See, this is how I revise. Although I have done this while writing, while attending the lectures, we have also taken down notes, but this is how we revise. Reading it multiple times, writing the note again and again. This is how you will revise and learn law. So, what is void? Void means it is not enforceable by law. Void may be either void ab initio or just void. Void ab initio means it is void right from the beginning. What is the meaning of just void? Just void means it is valid when entered, but later on, due to certain circumstances, later on, the contract becomes void. We had discussed an example. A promised to marry B. It's a valid contract, they got engaged. But before marriage, A died. Now the contract cannot be enforced, it becomes void. Void ab initio, we had discussed examples of entering into contract with minor, drug dealing, smuggling, etc. Dealing in arms, ammunition, trafficking, killing contracts, yes, killing, etc. So this is how I revise, okay? My agreement must not expressly be declared void. Now, in law, in Unit 3, we will discuss that there are certain agreements which are expressly void. You cannot enter into contract which restricts marriage, which restricts trade. You cannot enter into contract restricting legal proceedings. So, there are many sections. We will be covering them later. So, agreements in restraint of marriage, you can write down the section number. Section 26. Again, we are going to discuss this in detail in Unit 3. Agreement in restraint of trade, section 27. Agreement in restraint of legal proceedings, section 28 will come later. Wager or betting is section 30. Wager means bet. Betting is illegal in India. Void and illegal illegal in certain states. Void in rest of India. Meaning must be certain. Very important for case-based questions. We are going to discuss all the case-based questions from your compiler. Okay, so there you will realize that many questions have been asked on section 29. So section 29 means that the meaning must be certain. Now X is a dealer in different kinds of oil. So he deals in coconut oil, sesame oil, olive oil. He agrees to sell 100 liters of oil to Y at 100 rupees per liter. Is it a valid contract? No. Why no? The kind of oil is not specified. So the words, the terms, they must be certain. They must be unambiguous. Unambiguous means they must be clear. Whereas the meaning of ambiguous means unclear, confusing, okay, unclear or confusing. But what if he's a dealer in coconut oil only? Now the meaning is capable of being certain, then yes. You need not specify the kind of oil because he deals in only one kind of oil. So it is understood. This is a valid contract. The contract must be capable, it must be possible of being performed. Like the first example, selling the house is a valid contract because you can physically perform it. But bringing a piece of star, moon from the sky, putting life into dead wife, these are all physically impossible. These are void contracts. So your contract to be valid must be capable, it must be possible of being performed. So they must be capable of being performed. Section 56 is important. Again, we are going to discuss this in Unit 4. In case there are any legal formalities, like I want your agreement to be in writing, I want it to be attested, then we need to comply. But if there is no such legal requirement, then you can enter the contract as you want. See, oral contracts are also valid. Okay, oral are also valid. Only thing is, you need witness, you need proof. In writing, you have a proof, but oral, you need to bring witness. You need a proof that the contract was entered. But oral contracts are also valid. But sometimes law insists, no, no, I want that gift deed. I want contracts for immovable property. Must be in writing only. Then I have no option but to get the agreement in writing. So if there is any legal formality, I need to comply with those legal formalities. And if there is no legal formality, I can enter into contract any way I want. Okay. So in case of immovable property, in case of a gift deed, I want the agreement to be in writing. I want it to be registered also. Only then it is valid. So I need to comply with these legal formalities. So students, this was a good revision for us. Yes, it was a good revision. So this is how you will revise. You will keep on writing. You will keep on learning. Now, I will discuss the technique that I used for learning law. Okay, you can use the same. I used to make notes in this left hand margin. I used to write the keywords. So, legal formalities like registration, attestation, stamping, this is required. Okay, so, I used to write and practice. Possibility, they must be, what is possibility? It must be capable of being performed. I used to just write. I used to keep on writing the words. So over here, the terms must be clear and unambiguous. So I also revise the spelling. But if the meaning is certain or capable of being certain, meaning is either certain or capable, then it is a valid contract. Okay. Over here also you can write the keywords. Void, I have already made the chart, I have revised it. Lawful object, lawful purpose. See, object means the purpose, purpose must be lawful. So this way I used to use the left hand margin for writing the keywords, writing the key points. I used to write and practice. I also would keep a blank piece of paper with me. I used to go on writing. Now I will tell you one technique, and I had also discussed that in the class. You just copy this for the time being. Okay, just make a notebook and write this. Do this for the first 2 or 3 units. Once you get the hang of the language of law, then you can stop writing. Otherwise, just copy it, and I'm sure students, you will be able to learn law. Try it and let me know if it worked for you. All right, now in my next session I will first discuss, where is it? Okay, I will first discuss classification of contract, and then we will meet again for this discussion. I will do this exercise for some time till you are comfortable, and then we will move to the textbook only. So once you know the basics, then we will study everything from the textbook itself. All right, so in my next session I will discuss classification of contract, but before that, please ensure that you write, you learn, prepare your own notes. In fact, just copy if you want at least once. Then you try to learn the essential elements. Once you get into the habit of learning, then it will be fun and you will be able to understand all the other provisions of law. All right, so let me take your leave, and I will see you in my next session with a new concept and classification of contracts.